Alright, welcome to TinkerzLab, and in this episode I'm going to introduce you to Handbrake, the free and open source video converter and transcoder. And what we're going to use this for today is we're going to take the lossless video file that we created in our last tutorial with KDE-Live. And we're going to take that rendered lossless video and we're going to transcode it into a format that we can upload to YouTube or Facebook or Vimeo or any other streaming website. And I'll show you my settings, and what I have set up works extremely well for me, and I get a lot of compression on the video file without losing much quality. And so it is the transcoded video is going to be much smaller in size than the original source material. Now, how much it compresses it is going to depend on how clean your source material is. If your source material is cleaner than what I have, meaning you got a better video camera and there's less noise in the image, then yours should compress more than mine. The inverse is true. If you have a video camera that doesn't take as crisp video as mine does and it's got more noise in the video, yours won't compress quite as much. So keep that in mind. How much it's going to compress is all going to come down to the quality of the video and the audio that you start with. Okay, so I've got Handbrake open. Let's go ahead and open our source folder. And I've got that set up for this Handbrake tutorial. I'm going to select open. And then I'm going to open my source file. That's not my source file. It loaded the first file it saw. So I'm going to navigate to my tutorial folder here for Handbrake, and there's the lossless file that we rendered in the last tutorial. Alright, so we're going to open that up. Alright, you'll see down here that it opens the file and then adds a space and parentheses and one parentheses, and the reason it does that is so you don't overwrite your source file. So I'm going to rename this. This was my rendered file from KDE-Live, and this is going to be my transcode file from Handbrake, and it's not going to be lossless, so I'm going to remove that. Alright, so got my file name set up. My video file, my source file is an MPEG-4 file, and that is also the type of file that I'm going to transcode it to. I've got it checked here for a line that the audio and video start so that we remain synced in our video and our audio file. And I've got it checked for web optimized, so it will add headers to the video file so that it can be streamed. You can see down here it shows the duration of the source file, which was only 55 seconds. We just did a really short render from our last tutorial in KDE-Live. It shows the encoding, which is H.264. It's 60 frames per second. It's set for peak frame rate. Alright, and it's showing unknown, but it's AAC audio and it's in stereo. If you look at the size, it's 1920 by 1080, and it's 1:1 on the pixel aspect ratio. So the display, the rendered display, will also be 1920 by 1080. And it's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio on the video. So if we go to our dimensions here, you'll see I've got it set for auto crop. I've got the source set for 1920 by 1080. I've got anamorphic off. I've got alignment by 2 pixels. It says to keep aspect ratio on the display geometry when it transcodes this file. It shows the same display aspect ratio of 16:9. And it shows that the resolution of the transcoded file is going to be the same as the source file, which is 1920 by 1080. I do not have any filters enabled on this. And if we go to video, you'll see it shows H.264 as the encoder. It's going to be an MP4 file. My frame rate is 60. Now you can choose different video encoder formats from this drop-down list. What I use is H.264. Also, if you have a source file that's a different frame rate than what I have, you can select it from here. Sometimes if I'm filming action shots, I go with 60 frames per second when I record. If I'm just doing a video tutorial like I'm doing here, I just record at 24 frames per second. So if I was transcoding this video, I would select 24 frames per second. I've got it set for peak frame rate. I've got it set for constant quality. I've got it set for 2-pass encoding. That enables it to compress it even further. I've got tune set for none. I've got my profile set for high. My level is 4.2. Okay, and now if we go to our audio file here, and we click this box to see what our audio file is. I've got it set for a high bit rate of 320 kilobits per second, but you can see that the source material is only 243 kilobits. You don't want to encode at a higher bit rate on your audio or your video than what your source material is, because you're just wasting space if you do that. So I'm going to click this little pencil over here, and I'm going to go down here where it says bit rate quality. I've got 243 on the source material, so I'm going to set this for 224. And I'm going to select OK. And you can see here that it changed it from 320 to 224 kilobits, just slightly lower than the source material. Okay, so let's see here. I want to go from constant quality to bit rate, kilobits per second. Now on a frame rate of 60 frames per second, and which is an action video, there's a lot of movement in it. I will set my bit rate here for 22,000. If it was like a desktop video like this at 24 frames per second, I would set it at about between 14 to 16,000 on the bit rate. And these settings do very well for me. So we've got our audio, we've got our video bit rate, and our encoding set up. We've got our frame rate, our video encoder, our dimensions are set correctly. We've got everything checked here that we need checked. We've got our file name set so we don't overwrite our lossless video that we're going to be transcoding. So now I'm just going to select Start. And it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite, because I've already done this once. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say, yeah, overwrite it. Okay, so you can see down here it shows encoding pass 1 of 2. It shows you the percentage of the file that's processed on the first pass. It shows you the current frames per second that are being processed. It also shows you the average number of frames that are being processed per second, and then it gives you an estimated time for completion. And right now it's showing 30-something seconds on pass 1. So we're going to go ahead and jump forward through this pass 1 so I could show you the completed video. Okay, so our encoding is completed. Let's go ahead and bring up our file manager so we can take a look at it. Okay, so here's our lossless video that we started with. 1.5 gigabytes in size. Now if you look at what we just transcoded, it's 156.4 megabytes in size. It is only 1/10 the size of the source material that we started with. And it is ready for upload to YouTube or Facebook or whatever, video streaming site we want to upload it to. So these will give you, these settings will give you a very good starting point. All right, so that's a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next episode, and we will go into more settings and setting up your own profiles in Handbrake. I'll see you next time.